OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? Wheel and Audio here today on episode 305 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I got a really fun episode for you here today that I try to do every single week right here on The Hodder Show. I am sitting down with my man Matt Layn to do a music showcase here on The Hodder Show of his EP that came out about a month and a half ago, Songs I Play in the Dark. And let me tell you, it is a 3-song EP that is beautiful. It's dark. It's complex. There's a lot of different kind of lyrical themes going on, and we break down everything. If you are into singer-songwriter type stuff, you're going to love this. The tracks are all just incredible. Matthew is such a man. He's such a talented musician and a great dude. And, you know, he doesn't pull any punches. He dives into what exactly each song is about, kind of the darkness behind it as well, and kind of what's been going on in his life the last while. And in a way, I hope, you know, it was kind of cathartic for him, because it was definitely, as someone who was a fan of his music, it was very interesting and almost kind of cathartic for me to hear, you know, what all this was, and for him to really dive into everything. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. It was a great time chatting with Matt. It always is. Be sure to check him out through the links below, as well as his podcast, A Chat with Matt. He very much deserves your support, just like the support I received last week with my chat. We got 2 Matthews in a row here on The Hodder Show. I'm just realizing. My man Matthew from WCS. And let me tell you, that was a fun chat. Go check it out. He's a good dude, and he deserves your support as well. WCS are a badass band. Expect to see them on the show again in the future. But with that out of the way, I am ready to jump into my chat with Matt Layn, the music showcase of his brand new EP that came out just about a month and a bit ago, Songs I Play in the Dark. Let's get into it. All right, guys, hyped as always to have my man Matt Layn on the show. Matt, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. It's been a wild few months. Mm-hmm. I went from not having a project to launching a project, putting out an EP, a live special, and moving to a completely different city in the process. So fun to say the least.
It's been an absolute whirlwind for you, man. I was saying to you before we started, it's like every time I turn around, you got something else going on. And like the last time, of course, we heard from Matt, you were fully in a chat with Matt mode. So it's kind of funny that now, fast forward, I guess it was a few months since you've been on, you're, you know, kind of a bit of a 180 in a way, because now you're fully 100% into the music thing.
Yeah, well, I've always had a weird relationship with music in terms of the performing aspect of it, because I've done a few projects over the years, and this was probably the longest break I've had since I started doing music. And because I was working in the industry and doing a bunch of other shit, and then the podcast, and that kind of became a main focus during the pandemic. But then over the past few months especially, I've been going through just an insanely rough patch of my life, and I'm still going through it technically, but you know, day by day, and we do what we can. And music's kind of been the one thing that's been keeping me sane through all this, which is why it seems like a lot of content that I'm putting out, which it is, but I'm doing it because it's helping me get through the bullshit that I'm dealing with.
Right. And I mean, like you were saying too, some of it you've kind of been sitting on too, right? So it's like you've had this plan that you wanted to do, and then now it's just kind of almost, I guess, a blessing in disguise, right? That you have all this stuff that you want to do instead of just, you know, sitting around the house all day.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of factors holding me back from putting out the project because of my history in the industry, and like how I've seen how certain things work in terms of like releases and timing and major platforms and all that kind of stuff. I kind of had to take a step back and just look at the whole thing and be like, well, I don't have to do these things. There's alternatives. And that's kind of why I've taken the approach that I have. And a lot of people have asked me about it, about like why am I not doing the Spotify or Apple Music or any of that stuff, and I'm just doing on Bandcamp and YouTube for now. And I think for the starting points of what this project has become, we're doing it as focusing on smaller releases, like with a lot of releases coming up and like multiple campaigns, kind of exposing who I am as an artist before we get into the real stuff in next year. I think this is a good intro sector, essentially the phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you will.
Right. That's it. You got the phase 1 going, phase 2, and phase 1 was obviously what we're really here to dive in and talk about, which is the EP that you dropped, I guess about a month and a half ago now, Songs I Play in the Dark, which we are going to be doing a showcase on.
I love when people say the title because it just sounds so absurd.
Well, and right away, I understood kind of what you're going for, because maybe it's just because like the kind of music I enjoy too. But the second I heard it, I was like, oh, like that's a really cool title, because number one, it's unique. And number two, it's just kind of all, I think it brings everything together, right? Just because of the tone of the EP itself. But what we're going to do here, folks, is in a little bit, you guys are going to get to hear the full EP, and then Matt's going to break down each track for us. Before we jump into that, we kind of were already discussing a little bit, talking about the phases and things of that nature. So going back for a minute, walk me through kind of that phase 1 of kind of getting those songs together for the EP and deciding, okay, like here's how we're going to do this. And, I had the pleasure of kind of, I hope I'm not betraying your trust by saying this, but I had the pleasure of hearing a couple of those songs in their very early stages. So I was really excited about this project when it started. So just kind of walk me through how all that started with the actual recording of the EP.
You got to flex on them that you get that early access.
Oh, you're damn right, man. I heard this song. I'm like, oh, yeah. You guys just heard Matt's new song. Well, bro, I heard it like 2 months ago. All right. It was just him and an acoustic, bro. Like, it's just the best shit. I was there in the early days, man.
So with the songs that I wrote for this record, it kind of was, so the first 2 songs were written like a couple months into the pandemic. So like mid 2020. And then the last song on the record I wrote as I was recording the record. So that made it a very interesting kind of process for that one. But yeah, this whole start was how, and I kind of was inspired by Paul McCartney for how I approach this first stage, because, and I'm butchering this saying, I'm sure, but it's something along the lines of just, if you can break down a song to just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, that's where you can truly see the artistry at work.
Right.
And I think this next chunk of my career that I just launched, I'm going to be leaning into that heavily, because I think it's just a good way for people to understand me, because I enjoy writing from a place of honesty and just allowing people to understand what I'm going through, and hopefully helping them relate it to what they're going through. And by making it like a live off the floor EP and then putting out the live special with it, it kind of creates 2 different versions of intimacy in terms of the listening experience.
Right. And that's what's so cool about it. Like you dropping which for those of you who haven't seen the live special you put out with it, I implore you to go check it out, because it is, number one, it's super well done. So I'd love for you to maybe talk about who you did that with, but you really, like you'd mentioned, and I think you were pretty much right on with that Paul McCartney quote, because I've heard it before too, where it's just, you break down a song to just the acoustic guitar and your vocals. What do we have? Is this a real good song? Is it something you can hum to yourself? Is it something you can sing to yourself? And I think you really, you hit the nail on the head with these songs.
Well, when you really break down songwriting for what it is, it all starts with either just an idea, and whether it be a melody line or a guitar chord or just an idea for a lyric, for me, when I create art, it's a very selfish process. And when I say it's a selfish process, I mean, I want to make sure that I get the most enjoyment and that I'm 100% happy with whatever I put out. So whatever I write, I always also think about like, how am I going to play this live?
Sure.
And how it's going to come across live and what I can do with it on this recording and live. So like everything I do, while yes, it's being released to the public, it's very much for me.
I get it. Like, you're at the end of the day, as a creative person, you are creating this art, yes, because you want people to, experience it and that, but especially with music, you're writing this because it's something you're feeling and you want to get that out as an outlet, right? That's kind of the whole point of a lot of art.
Yeah, and you can attribute that to every kind of medium of art, because art is such an amazing thing. And I think what the pandemic's kind of shown us is how much people crave that authenticity, how much people crave the people being themselves and craving that human connection. And this record is a symbol of me saying, listen, I'm not okay, but I'm okay to talk about it, because it's better to let everyone know and just be like, listen, I'm not afraid to talk about what I'm feeling and what I'm going through, because life happens and we should all be supportive of each other and help each other through those things. And the feedback I've received from this record and how it's affected people already, it's been absolutely mind blowing, because I didn't expect people to be so open and willing to come forward and share some of the stories about how certain songs relate to them based on what they're going through.
And again, that's a beautiful thing too, right? Like when you have that, and even if it only happens once, I remember speaking with, I can't remember who it was now, who they were saying to me, there was this one time where they never thought this would happen to them, where someone came out to them and said, hey, this song, here's how it relates to my life. Here's how it's helped me. Like, thank you. And they were like, really? Like, it's just a silly song I wrote, but like, it's such an amazing feeling for someone to say, hey, your art that you created, again, like you said, kind of in a, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying in a selfish way, because you want to, get that out there, that art has helped someone else. Like, that's a wonderful, beautiful thing.
And that's what the world needs now more than ever, with everything going on right now. It's just, we need people to understand and communicate and be aware of what we're all going through. And because what the past couple of years has shown us is that there's a good amount of people that focus on themselves and can't see past their own nose. But then on the other side of the spectrum is just, there's people that just want to be loved. There's people that just want to be safe. There's people that just want to be happy. And the best way we can all do that is just by being together as one people, as opposed to being divided by whatever your beliefs are or whatever your opinions are on whatever topic. We are all human at the end of the day. And we should all be okay with expressing ourselves and being honest with what we're feeling, as opposed to being pushed our feelings down and just not having that.
Right. It's so important. And it's such a beautiful statement too, man. Like, just regardless of what you might disagree with someone on something, but at the end of the day, we all go through things. And yes, some people might go through things that you may not be able to relate to, but you can still talk with that person and be there for that person. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much to do that for someone. Even if you might not always agree with them, you can still, have love for that person enough to reach out to them or be there for them. Right.
Yeah. And we've all had those experiences in life where people have screwed us over or stabbed us in the back or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, you just have to let go of that and focus on yourself, where you are in the moment, because the reality is none of us can predict the future and where it's going to go, because the future is now. It's now. It's now. We can only plan so far in advance. And people just need to kind of step back and look at it as, I should be treated the way I treat others. So if I'm going to be nice to these people, I expect the same response back.
Right.
And of course, there aren't people like that, but you just have to push kindness onto the world, because especially in the next few weeks, we're going to be seeing some wild shit coming out, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
We just need people to... The thing is, I'm in such a dark place artistically, but I'm pushing love onto the world. So it's a very big contradiction.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, though. Like, you can, some of the funniest and most like the kindest people I've ever met were people who play in like death metal bands, who are writing some of the most grotesque, darkest stuff I've ever heard. It's a different style of dark, of course, from what obviously with some of the stuff you're doing, but like, you can still have that outlet and still not be a miserable prick all the time, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, because you don't get very far in life, at least, you shouldn't, by being miserable to everyone and by being rude to people, and like just the whole like, tortured artist, like asshole person, like that kind of thing shouldn't exist anymore, because it doesn't have to, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be a tortured artist that is nice to people.
Exactly.
Mix it up.
He plays sad boy music, but he's a nice guy. Like that's.
I'm a sad boy that just wants to tour the world, make a bunch of sad boy friends, and then hopefully find someone that I can spend the rest of my life with and live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and no one can bother me.
There you go. That's it. And then
that's the dream, folks. That's the dream.
Yes. You heard it here first, folks. That's the dream. We'll check in with you in a few years and see where that's going.
Probably not. Probably about the same where I am right now, to be honest.
No, man. Next few years, I'm excited for you, man, because I know you got a lot going on. You got a lot coming up with the different phases, and I can't wait for phase 23. Like, that's going to be great. It's
going to be an Adele tribute. That's what
dude. Is. And then I want to see like I want to see like a Crash Test Dummies tribute. Okay, like that's what I want to see. That's
the one request I never thought I'd get.
Or
because I'm doing this like artist retrospective thing, a lot of people are trying to figure out who the remaining artists are, because I've already announced the first one's coming on the 17th of September, and then like I have the next 3 planned, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this going to be your thing now?" I'm like, "No," but this is just a fun way to fill out the rest of the year, and also just. And this is the other thing I don't get. I don't get why more artists don't do this kind of thing, because it's amazing for you as an artist to figure out what your interpretation of a song is.
Right.
And what you can do with it, and how you present and how you convey it to your audience. And that's why I'm doing this retrospective thing over the next like 4 months, because I want people to get to know me more as an artist and like what I interpret certain things as and where my musical journey is going to go.
And at the end of the day, too, it's great content. People love content. Shouts to Andy Colonico, who literally, when he was on the show a few weeks ago, he said, I love content. I love content. I want content all the time. Like, just, it's as awesome as it is, yes, to have this journey. And I'm excited to see who the remaining artists are, too. Like, it's just as fun for me being a fan of your work. Like, it's also cool to have this content instead of like, hey, you drop an EP or a record or something, and then you wait 4 months, and then you maybe drop something else. Like, let's fill in this time with something cool.
And honestly, fuck those norms, man. I'm sick of following the cut and paste industry norms about like, you need to release this with this campaign at this time and follow this. I'm like, nah, man. I just want to make music, and I'm regressing a lot of what's in me from working in the industry for as many years as I have been, and like just following my own path. Cause it's like, I'm thankful that the contacts I have and I've made over the years have been helping with the project, so shout out to all of them, but also just, I'm glad that people are humoring me with, I don't even know what this project is going to be yet in terms of long term. I just know that I'm having it's weird to say I'm having fun with it, but I'm having fun with this image that I've created for myself because it's so open-ended and I can literally take it in 100 different directions.
And that's what's so cool about it. And you've shown off, again, as you will continue to show off with the covers and that, but also with the EP, like you showed off that you have quite of a range of, number one, of songwriting talent, but then also of your voice itself. And I mean, those people who know your background too know that you can do some heavier stuff too. So like, who knows where you could end up, right? And that's what's so exciting about kind of watching this journey unfold for you, man.
I think that's also one of my biggest fallbacks is because I've been so critical of myself for so many years, and that's why I haven't done a music project. Because the thing is, a few years back, after my mom passed away, I started a solo project. I got signed with an indie label in Toronto. We put out an EP. It did okay. They wanted me to come back and sign on for a full record, but I just felt in myself that I wasn't good enough to do it. And I know some people are like, oh, you're just fishing for compliments. First off, shut up. Second off, I'm not. Third off,
I might be. No, I'm just kidding.
Third off, okay, maybe you call me out, but no. I for the voice and stuff, I don't really think about the range of what I've done. I think more about the range of what I haven't done yet, or things that I want to try. And because if the last few months has taught me anything, it's, while yes, it's important to have that retrospective and look at your past and draw inspiration from it, which I'm writing my debut LP right now. And I literally just finished writing a song before we did this because it's writing season, folks. It's writing season. But
oh yeah,
with where I'm taking it and what I want to do musically and with my voice, I've been my own worst enemy, but I got to a point where, and this is honestly just kind of a great mentality for any artist to have, that I just want to put something out. I'm not saying I'm the best singer in the world or the best artist in the world, because I know I'm not, and I'm not pretending to be. I'm just a sad boy from Ontario that's going through a shitty time and is deciding to put his experiences out there for people to kind of hopefully relate to, or at least understand what I'm going through. And I'm not even looking for sympathy or empathy or anything like that. I just, it's mainly once I release it into the world, I feel like I am relieving some sort of tension that I've had built up inside me, if that makes sense.
Definitely so, man. And I mean, like, you know, releasing that is going to be such I would say it's a cathartic thing too, right? Just being able to get your thoughts out on the paper, so to speak, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I love about writing and the styles of writing I introduced on songs I play in the dark, because my writing style before was very straightforward, basic. I don't want to say bland, but just basic and straight down to the point. While this time I'm being a bit more methodical, I'm being a bit more exploratory, I'm being a bit more open-ended with my lyricism, because I think why that is because I'm at a point mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, where I've been pushed to the very end of the line, and it's allowed me to really be like, well, I don't really know where this is going to go. So I'm craving that openness because I'm looking for that sense of possibility, that sense of artistic direction, that sense of learning who I am as an artist.
Sure.
But also what I could be as an artist.
And that's such an exciting thought, man. And I mean, like you said, you know, I definitely think you explored that a little too on, as you were saying, on the EP. And, I'm excited to jump into this with you and have you kind of walk us through each track. And then, before we go, obviously, I want to talk a little bit more about what you have upcoming, because I'm really excited about it. And I know everyone else is as well. But I think now would be a great time to dive into Songs I Play in the Dark, which of course is technically the debut EP for this project. So what we're going to do, guys, is you're going to hear all 3 songs in a row, and then we're going to come back and Matt's going to break them down. So the first song that we have is Canary in a Mine. Then we have Run From Me. And then we have Dance with the Devil Again. And I'm just going to say that's my favorite track. I love Dance with the Devil Again. So I'm very excited. Right here on the Harder Show Music Showcase, we have Matt Layn. Cannot wait to come back and break down the tracks with him. This is his debut EP, Songs I Play in the Dark.
The scars on your arm don't mean nothing. You're the canary in the mine that softly sings, searching for a path that sets you free. Wanting the sun on your skin and the blowing breeze. Feeling trapped in a box with no escape. Your current state doesn't seal your fate. And times may get hard, but there's light ahead. Your story is the stitch in your life, it's the thread. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The dark inside doesn't decide where you'll be in 3 years' time. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The future is bright, and you will see. You'll find your way, and you will be. Falling off the horse doesn't mean you fail. You'll get back up, find the wind and sail. Blackened walls around a single flame is the hope inside this fragile frame. Drunken cries from a darkened place can be answered from a saving grace. No matter where you are, we'll be right here, lifting you up and pushing away the fear, the fear. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The dark inside doesn't decide where you'll be in 3 years' time. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The future is bright, and you will see. You'll find your way, and you will be. The scars on your arm don't mean nothing. You're the canary in the mine that softly sings. And times may get hard, but there's light ahead. Your story is a stitch and your life is the thread. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The dark inside doesn't decide where you'll be in 3 years' time. Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet and kind. The future is bright, and you will see. You'll find your way, and you will be. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Traumatic experience bonds us, but the aftermath may split. I'm not pushing you away, I just wanna solve it. You're the north on my trail, the light in my sky, the air that I breathe, the hand I hold when I cry. But even in an empty space, will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Love is blind, love is sound, love is everything that we're about. But even in a dark space, will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. Will you run for me? Run for me, run for me, run for me. I don't know what I'm feeling inside of me, but all I know is I can't sleep. Holding me awake all night, making me wanna run from a fight. That's not me. And dance with the devil again, losing my head and again. Dance with the devil again. Dance with the devil again, losing my head and again. Dance with the devil again. Yeah. Dance with the devil again. Well, I know where to see. My destiny's fading beneath the light of the golden ring. I am losing everything inside of me. I feel the disease creeping and crawling its way out of me. I don't know where I'm meant to be. Not here with me. And dance with the devil again, losing my head and again. Dance with the devil again. And dance with the devil again, losing my head and again. Dance with the devil again. 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 Dance with the devil with the devil again. Dance with the devil again. Dance with the devil again.
All right, guys, so you just heard Matt Layn's brand new EP that came out just about a month and a half ago now, Songs I Play in the Dark. And we're going to do a track-by-track breakdown in which Matt's going to kind of walk us through each song and what it's about and kind of any stories he has about it. But to go through the track listing one more time, we had Canary in a Mine, then we had Run From Me, and then we had Dance with the Devil Again. And if you guys want to listen to those songs more because you enjoyed them so much, be sure to check out Matt's Bandcamp, which I will have a link for down below. Go check it out, support him. He deserves it. Also check out the YouTube, which I'll have a link for down below again. And let's just jump into it, man. So Matt, walk me through kind of each track here.
Well, first off, TJ, it's Canary in the Mine.
Oh, my apologies. Canary in
Ontario, thinking he's too good to get the names right. Mr. Big Time over here. I've been doing it for 5 years and 300 episodes coming in and going all in a mine. I'm kidding. I don't care that much. You can call it whatever you want.
Canary in the Mine.
Ooh, there we go. Sultry. The sultry version.
Yeah, sultry. No, but seriously. Okay. Thank you for the correction. But walk me through Canary in the Mine, man, because it is such a like I said, you know, when I first heard the version you sent me, which I was gracious enough to be able to send me that, I could hear that. Like, it's such a cool song because number one, instrumental wise, it's a really nice acoustic guitar part that you wrote, and then the song is a beautiful as it is. Yeah, it's a dark song, but it's a very beautiful song. So just walk me through that song.
So this song has a bit of a complicated history because a lot of people are interpreting it as a song about hope and overcoming tough times and all that kind of stuff, which I suppose that's one interpretation of it. For me, it kind of takes me back to around the beginning of the pandemic. And I had a roommate, and this roommate had a lot of mental health issues, psychotic issues, like truly she had a lot of stuff going on. And she ended up in a mental facility for a few months, and then she moved back into the apartment, and then she ended up having a massive breakdown, destroyed half the apartment. Cops called. It was a whole thing. It was a very, very, very dark time. And that incident happened after I wrote the song. So when I wrote the song, it was, she had a couple smaller breakdowns, but more just sad, emotional, and just me and my partner at the time were being there to support her. And so the song was about her and just being like, listen, like times are rough, but there is another side to this. And that is kind of what the song is like. Listen, times are rough, but we can overcome. We can push through. With the actual song itself, I wrote it in about 20 minutes. The both guitar and the vocal and lyrics, because sometimes with a song, and I'm sure a lot of writers who are listening to this can understand that there are some songs that take a little more time to sit on, and then there's just some songs that just flow right out of you. And for some reason, this song just came out of me like no other song I've ever written. And even the guitar part just came so naturally with it. And I don't know how the song came to be where it was, but when I take a look at what the song is now and how it's impacted people now, it makes me hopeful that people are finding solace in a song that's saying it's okay to not be okay, as well as no matter what way you look at it, you have to go forward no matter what, because that's how life works. And by taking it day by day and just taking in each moment and really understanding not only yourself and how your choices and actions affect everyone around you, but that you yourself are aware of your own mental health, physical health, emotional health, whatever it is, that everyone goes through struggle, but we all can be okay. Bit of a weird kind of philosophical end to that, but that's kind of where the song really came from.
Well, that's awesome, man. And I mean, it's like I was saying, it's a beautiful song. I mean, the fact that people are interpreting it in that way too, like that's a very powerful thing, right? Having that kind of a message in a song it's powerful. And sometimes people just need to hear that, hey, we just got to keep moving forward, you know?
Yeah. And I keep pushing this proponent of it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And the reason I keep pushing that is because as the record's called Songs I Play in the Dark, like these are songs that I have a personal connection to, both from the story aspect of it, but from the bigger picture aspect of it. And these songs not only give people that perspective, they give an understanding of myself and what I've experienced thus far. And I'm glad that a song like Canary in the Mine can be there for people, especially during the past 18 months, man, because it's like times were really rough, both just for everyone in terms of economically, socially, physically, mentally, emotionally, every aspect of society kind of crumbled. And now more than ever, we just really need to have some sort of unity or commonality, because we're not looking at each other as people, we're looking at each other as opinions. And we need to let that go and just be there for each other, because I always look to the lyric of the opening on the chorus, which is, "Oh, sweet girl, don't you cry. Life can be beautiful, sweet, and kind." And I think that lyric really translates what my vision of what I wish the world could be, because it's there. It is possible. But unfortunately, I don't believe we'll ever get to it, because people are people. And while my experience may be different from someone else's, their interpretation of that experience may be also completely different, which adds a whole bunch of complications to things.
And that's what's so interesting about it, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
But sorry, what were you going to say? You were going to, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Honestly, I completely forgot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, it wasn't you. It was me. I was like, all right, where am I going with this?
Well, and that's what's so great about the song, man. And I mean, for those who don't know, by the way, I just think this is kind of interesting, because when you shared the title of the song, Canary in the Mine, where exactly did that title come from? Because I know kind of what it means, so to speak, but just for those who aren't familiar, where did that title come from?
Well, that wasn't going to be the title of the song originally, but what ended up happening is the song opens up with "The scars on your arm don't mean a thing. You're the canary in the mine that softly sings." And when I wrote out Canary in the Mine, it's a reference to miners sending small little yellow canaries down a mine shaft and using their tweets to indicate whether or not the mine is safe to go into. And I kind of viewed this girl that I wrote it about as the canary, and the dark, endless tunnels of a mine as kind of life and the battles that she's had to overcome. And so when I was trying to figure out a title for the song, and I looked over those opening two lines, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the perfect title, because it explains exactly who the song is for, but also what the song can be.
And it's, also it's a super unique title too, right? Like people who might hear that and be like, what is he talking about? Like it's like, I knew what you were referencing in that line, but it's still a very, some of the best songs are ones that are perfectly vague, right? That's kind of what you want to go for, so that everyone can interpret it in a different way.
My approach to writing is simplistic but open-ended, because anytime, especially with songs I wrote in the past, and I look back on it, by closing off certain lyrics, either by the way they're interpreted or the way they're presented, it limits the potential growth of a song, or it potentially cuts off any continuation of that song through another song. Because something I'm doing, especially with writing this new record for my debut LP for next year, I'm referencing songs and moments from songs in these songs in ways that you don't fully realize they are there until they're already passed. And that's kind of like, it's like a weird Inception back reference kind of thing. And I think I write like that because I'm writing I approach life in the way where I'm moving forward and focusing on what's ahead, while at the same time having that retrospective, looking behind me, understanding the past, what I've done, both good and bad, take the lessons from that and apply them to what I'm doing now.
Which is, that's a beautiful sentiment, man, because that's life. That's, as we grow as people, that's what we should be doing. Learn from the experiences and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure, man. Well, again, guys, Canary in the Mine, awesome song. Definitely one that stands out for me. Now, the next track that we're going to talk about here is Run From Me. And I know this has taken on a bit of a different life for you, I guess, in a way now, but walk me through Run From Me.
So I was telling TJ before we record this next part that it might get a little wild in this section because I have to provide the back context.
Sure.
So the song is a love song. It's blatantly clear from that. And I wrote it about the woman I was seeing for the past 5.5, almost 6 years. And recently that relationship concluded, is the nicest way I'll put it. And I remember, so I'll tell this story because I told the audience at the show I played. So on August 18th, which was when I opened for Spenny from Kenny versus Spenny out in Peterborough. Shout out to Brandon and Spenny for having me on that sold out show. And Andy, the zesty legend he is. So I woke up that day and I had like 5 or 6 phone calls back to back. And I never have that many phone calls. And it was all different stuff. Like, it wasn't even like the same things. It was all different things. And then we were separated and my ex texted me saying, hey, can we talk? And I said, sure, join the queue. So she joined the queue and she was the last call. And she was like, I don't know if you want to hear this before or after your show. And I said, well, I'd rather hear it before because then I can just focus on the show, whatever it is after, which is, in my opinion, better. And then she told me, oh, just so you know, I am seeing someone else. And getting that confirmation that the relationship truly was over, it damaged me in a way, because the issue is, and I've already put her on blast a few times because of it. But basically the long and short of it is there was an expectation of us getting back together, and then just some shit happened, and then and then it ended very messy and not nice. And so that night I was going to play the EP front to back, but because of how fresh that wound was, how I got it literally like earlier in the day, I decided, you know what, no, I'm going to play a different song. So I debuted a brand new song that I wasn't going to play live at all until probably next year, because I was just like, honestly, I'm just going to present a song that's literally more appropriate to what I'm feeling in the moment. And because of that, it's allowed me to step back over the past couple weeks and look at what that song is, because the lyrical content is very straightforward. It's a love song, having someone who will run for you and be with you no matter what. for any Fast and Furious fans, I can break this down to your ride or die.
Thank you for that.
That's the thing. I hate that comes to mind, but honestly, it's
ride or
so
die.
True. You're my ride or die. But with Run For Me now, I take a step back and I look at it more from an open perspective of, at the end of the day, we all want connection, whether it be in a relationship and friendship or whatever, but we all fundamentally want to have someone that will, i.e., run for you and be there for you and be by your side and get you through no matter what. And that can be interpreted in so many ways. That can be
absolutely
a friend your best friend that's been with you through everything, a person that you were in a relationship for 5.5 years with, or a family member, or just anyone. Because, and that's the other thing about Run For Me, it's because it's a love song. But then the other part is, and you mentioned it earlier, just, I don't know if we were recording at that point, but it was how that song could be like a really good commercialized single, which is such a conflict, because it's like that. I agree.
I get it.
Agree,
yeah.
But the artistic conflict of having the memory of what it means to me still sitting in there. Like, I'm not going to not perform the song because, A, it's a kick-ass song, and I fully know that, and it's probably one of my favorite love songs I've ever written. And I'm not going to allow what happened in that relationship to tamper with that, because, yeah, it ended very shitty, but there were a lot of positives that came out of that relationship.
Of course,
obviously, there had to be, because I wouldn't have written that song if that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just knowing what I know now, and being able to be with my family, especially after, and that's the thing a lot of people don't realize, to hop off the song for a second. Like, my life fell apart over the past like 3.5 months, and this was kind of pointed out to me by my dad. Like, my life's kind of been going downward ever since my mom passed away, and in a weird way, he's right. But these past few months, I literally lost everything in the matter of like 36 hours, and then just everything went downhill from there. But as the first song points out, there is another side somewhere. At this point, I don't know where that is. And that's why I'm very curious what this debut LP is going to turn into, because some of the songs I've been writing are very all over the place in terms of the stories, and musically it's going to be very interesting. But with a song like Run For Me, it's definitely my most commercial song, so I probably will end up doing something with it. But I think the biggest thing is just time, because time heals all wounds, and just having the opportunity to kind of rebuild your life. Because that's the thing. I left Durham after 7 years, and I left everything behind. I left all my associates behind. I left the venue I worked at. I left everything behind. And now it's me trying to figure out where to go from here. Because, like, we're doing this literally like a week and like 2 days after I just moved to London.
Yeah.
So like, I'm still brand new here, and like trying to figure out what to rebuild and where. But Run For Me now is a song I look at fondly and with pain, which I think when I perform the song next is going to translate well to what I felt for that person and what I hope I can convey in the emotions of others through the performance of that song.
That's it, man. And I think so. I think you're right on that. Like, and as a song, you know, as you grow as an artist, you know, there's lots of examples I know off the top of my head, just of artists who, how they felt when they wrote a specific song, and it eventually taking on another life almost in a way where, hey, I wrote this song about this specific thing, but now, you know, even a few months or a year or so later, here's kind of more what it maybe means to me now and how I look at it, as much as, yes, I go back to that mindset I was in when I wrote it, but it's also like, hey, I know that this song means something to me, but it also might mean something to someone else. So like you can kind of convey that in a way.
I already had one person ask if they could use it as their wedding song.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a compliment.
I was very confused by it, one, but then two, I'm like, yeah, go for it. I guess I said, send me a video, but
you want to use the sad boy music for what?
Yeah.
What?
That's the thing. It's a sad boy. That's what I think people find very contradicting about this record. Like I'm proclaiming myself as a sad boy because the thing is, these songs, like Canary in the Mine, is a sad song that sounds happy.
Yeah.
Run For Me was a sappy love song that is now turned into a sad love song. And then when we get into the last song, that whole is a different
it's a whole other ball game, because I know you have a couple stories about that one.
Yeah.
But just to kind of, because I think you've hit the nail on the head, man. And I mean, it's a beautiful sentiment what you're saying about the song, and you know, it's as much as it's, like I said, I think, at least anyway, it's probably going to become something different for you. But it's a great song. And I mean, I'm glad that you're not letting what happened tarnish the song for you in a way where it's like, I will never play that song again because it's just, you know, I can't or whatever. And I mean, it's, you know, people, I'm sure people would understand that, but I'm glad that at least at this point, you're kind of looking at it going, you know what, like, it's going to kind of grow into something else.
Don't get me wrong. I thought about it.
Of course. Yeah.
I did think about, am I going to perform this song? Can I perform this song? Like, and that's where this whole stepping back and looking at what the song is and how it's interpreted and all that kind of stuff. And that's why the approach has changed on it. But I had the same debacle with a cover that I still play to this day. At my mother's funeral, I was asked to speak, but that didn't sit right because I've always, while I can do public speaking and not have an issue with it, for me, I convey my feelings best through song, through performance, and so I performed her favorite song, which is House of the Rising Sun. Now, that's a cover a lot of people have seen me do and know that I've done for the past several years. For 2 years after her death, I didn't perform that song because I felt like I can't perform it again because that would besmirch her memory or something like that. But then I realized by performing that song, that's allowing me to accept what's happened and express my emotion about it while keeping her in my heart. And that's kind of the same way I'm looking at Run For Me. Like, yes, the main topic of the song, it ended terribly, but because of the memories I've made through that relationship, as well as what I know that song means to people, it's allowed me to take a different lease on life, because I shouldn't be running away from the things that have caused me pain. Mm-hmm. Because it took me two and a half years to process my mother's death. And that's because I was running away and distracting myself and putting up as many blockades as I can to avoid dealing with it. But if life's taught me anything, especially over this past 2 years, life is so short and fragile that we need to accept what's happened in order to live that full, fulfilling life and not feel like anything's dragging you down or holding you back.
Mm-hmm. And that's it, man. And I mean, that's again, a beautiful sentiment, like, because it's so important to understand that, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to go through things. And of course, right, as we've said, a few times already in this, but like, it's knowing that, you have to deal with things and you have to take time for yourself, and you can't just always put up the blockades. And I mean, hey, I'm someone who's not very good at that myself. Like when instead of dealing with things, sometimes I'll just keep myself busy, which in some regards that might be good in some ways, but you also have to still take the time to process what happened, regardless of what it is.
Well, and that's one of the biggest issues we have as a society. It's people we're so in this stage of go, 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 go. The pandemic allowed people for the first time to pause and reflect on what really matters. And that's another reason why I got back into doing music, because I felt like something was missing from my life for the past few years. Like, yes, I was doing some really cool industry shit and I was working with some really awesome people, and I'm truly thankful for all the opportunities I've had. But for my own sanity and for my own artistic being, I needed to get back into this, because I literally feel like I can't survive without music. And I know that seems dramatic and people, but guess what? I don't care what you say, A. And B, because my relationship to music is very different than I feel a good amount of artists' relationships are to music, because a lot of artists don't realize how powerful music can be as a platform, because you can sway and allow people to feel something with your lyricism, with your musicality, with your authenticity, with your artistry. Music is such a powerful medium, and I can't imagine my life without it.
That's it, man. And I mean, that's, again, people who are creative, I say this all the time. It's a blessing and a curse being a creative person, because we need that outlet, whatever our outlet is. And when we don't have that outlet, it can be hard to even function sometimes. So you saying, like, you need music, like, I can absolutely relate to that, man, because at the end of the day, where words fail, music speaks. And there are things you can say as an outlet with music that you can't just say,
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about art, is it can be happy. It can be sad. It can be angry. It can be love. It can be so many different things while being so few things at the same time.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it, for sure. But moving on to the last song here, because I'm really excited to hear about this one. And it's a beautifully dark song. It's definitely my favorite on the record, and that is Dance with the Devil Again. So walk me through Dance with the Devil Again.
So Dance with the Devil Again, it was kind of written on accident. And the reason why it was written on accident was because the third song wasn't going to be that song. It was another song that I had written, but I scrapped because I wasn't happy with it and I needed to workshop it a little more. But I was already in the process of recording the EP and I needed a song. So I started just playing a random chord progression without really thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let me kind of build off this. So I literally just did a one take on the guitar and like just strummed just a random song out. And like the structure of the song musically came first, because the track that's on the recording is that one take I did. Like just playing whatever came to my head and what I felt in that moment. Mm-hmm. And then I recorded the lyrics afterwards by just playing the song over and over again and just recording different vocal parts and building the lyrics off that. And then I quickly realized that this song was turning into kind of an expression of where I was presently at. And so it's funny, the first two songs are about me, or just about experiences I've had that involved me. But the last song's about me specifically, because the song highlights the last few months of my life in terms of the struggles I was dealing with, losing the most important relationship in my life, having everything fall apart, and relying on substances or alcohol or whatever I needed to numb myself through the pain I was dealing with, which leaning into the more spiritual aspect of the song, which is going down that path, doing the things I know I shouldn't be doing, but need to in order just to survive, and embracing the relationship I have with my dark side. And it's the realest song I've ever written, because I'm literally just telling you exactly what I'm feeling, how it's affecting me. And a lot of people, like you say, it was your favorite song, and that's interesting, because that song's been the most divisive song on the record for
sure
a few different people. And at my old work in Oshawa, Whitby area, before I moved to London, I showed one of my superiors. He heard that I put out the record, and some employees in the building found me on TikTok prior to me coming back to working at the building, because the TikTok stuff was going off still. And then because of that, they found out about the record, and they were playing the record around the building and showing each other. And he kept hearing about it, but didn't listen to it. He goes, "Oh, okay, show me the record." So I just pulled the live special, which is the best reference point I can give to people, because when you show someone a visual piece, they're more likely to be engaged with it. And so he's watched performance, made it through the first song. He really liked it. Second song, obviously really liked it, because, love song, and he think about his wife and all that kind of stuff. And then the last song came on, Dance with the Devil Again. And he turned it off before the first course even started. And he handed me my phone, and I said, "Why'd you stop it?" He goes, "This song is too dark for me and anyone else to listen to."
Jesus.
Keep in mind, this guy's a very positive, religious man, and if he's a religious man, I get. No, but it wasn't the religious aspect that was bothering him. It just saddened him to realize that I was struggling as much as I was, and being that open about it. Because because the dude's like a second father to me, man. Like he got me through a lot of tough shit. And so I think for him, hearing that I'm literally saying in a song, an open letter saying, I am not okay, and this is what I'm going through, and this is what I'm feeling, I think that's what messed him up a bit. And that's the other thing, going back to how people interpret music. Like, I didn't expect that song to have that kind of impact on him. That being said, because of the personal relationship him and I have, it makes it a bit more intensive. But I'm curious, why was this song the one that you connected with the most on the record?
For me, I mean, simply put, musically, your performance of the song itself is really what I love about it. And I think it's the honesty. It's the honesty, the rawness of you just saying, "Hey," like you said, "Hey, I'm not okay. Like, kind of here's what, I'm going through." I am someone who to me, music should always be honest, and it should always be an outlet for the person. So obviously I would at least assume that song was probably very cathartic for you to write, because it's like, hey, here's what's going on, and it's that outlet, right? Would I be fair to say that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And with that song, I was very conflicted once I finished it to even send it to my mixing guy. Shout out to Mike from the Jailbirds. With that song, I was conflicted because I'm like, this is the rawest thing I've ever written. Is this going over the line of listeners being able to stomach? And sorry, I just got a text message that threw me off. But with a song like "Dance with the Devil Again," it's in that line of people are struggling, whether it be because the pandemic fucked them over financially, whether it be they lost their jobs, their family's struggling, they have a struggling problem with addiction, they have a mental health issue, whatever it is. The song, to its simplest form, is about struggle and having that recognition of it's okay to not be okay and to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what drew me to it so much, because, you know, you can hear in the performance that you're really, you know, I mean, you're singing your heart out, right? Because again, it's such a raw, cathartic thing for you. And I mean, I think it depends on the type of person who would hear a song like that. I think it would depend on, number one, are they a creative type themselves? Can they relate to having an outlet for something, regardless of if you might think, oh, like this is dark or whatever. But then also, I think it depends on, you know, my music influences and the music I grew up with was that brutal honesty, no matter what. Some of my favorite artists, you know, they write music to the point where, you know, they might, there's a couple of them that even look back and kind of regret talking about certain things, because it's like, should I have really spoken about that at the time? But at the end of the day, it's all a cathartic release, right? And that's the kind of music I grew up with. And that's the kind of music I really love. So I think for me, when I see that brutal, raw, cathartic honesty, I'm drawn to that. Whereas some people might be too scary for them because they're used to songs about, I don't know. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it's just like they might be used to songs about, like, I don't know, blast. What do people listen to these days? I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but my point I'm trying to make is, you know, they might not be used to that type of honesty, raw honesty in music. So it might kind of throw them off a little bit, I think. Right.
I think the reason why I ended up just releasing it was for two reasons. One, the reason why it's Dance with the Devil Again is that's in reference to being trapped in a cycle that you can't get out of, whether that be addiction or anything else. Like, the song for me is about my reliance on alcohol and weed, and just trying to cope and understand what's happening, and just falling down. Because I have the recognition of, I know these things aren't good for me health wise, but on the counterpoint, they're only things that help me have some sort of sanity, kind of like my relationship with music. And then the other part of it was, what would have happened if I didn't put this out? What had happened if I didn't write this song into existence? And to be completely honest with you, I'm scared of that answer, because I went through, and I'm still going through it, but the past few months were some of the darkest times I've ever experienced. And music, and I keep going back to this, music is literally my therapy. And it allows me to express what I'm feeling. It helps people. It can help people relate to their own struggles and know they're not alone. But it's also a way for me to openly talk about it, and for people in my own life who personally are involved with me to be able to message me and be like, "Hey, you okay?" I had a lot of people reach out to me and ask, and I very much appreciate it to those who are listening and checking on me. And like, when I say like I'm okay, but I'm not, but that's okay, because
sure,
it's a day by day thing, because at the end of the day, that's all I can really do right now as I try to rebuild my life from what it was to now. And two things stuck with me through this change, and the two things were family. Family comes through in the end, and I am beyond thankful to have my father in my life who's helping me and give me direction and showing me where I can rebuild and what I can do and all this kind of stuff. And also shout out to London, man. London's a killer city.
It's a great place to go, man. It's a great,
London,
yeah, it is.
London has some of the best bands in Ontario. London has one of the best music scenes in Ontario. I'm so excited to dip my toes in the pool out here and do some stuff. And the other part was music, because music, it's been in my life since I picked up a guitar when I was 10, and just over time got more into it, got into songwriting, got better at songwriting, and got to this point now where I'm just a guy who wants to say how he feels. And I don't care whether it gets 10 plays or 10,000 plays or 100. I don't care. Numbers. And for artists out there, please don't lean so much into numbers, because for me, for this EP, I genuinely had, and when I say this, I mean it 100%. I literally had absolutely zero expectation for this record. And the fact that people have gravitated towards it and have downloaded it and watched the special and got connected with me because of it means the absolute world and more. And I also just want to thank you, man, for taking the time just to sit down and have this kind of conversation with me, because I feel like it needed to happen in order for me to like have this kind of last conversation about the record before we start moving into the next phases and seeing where I can end up.
Well, that's it, brother. And I mean, I was excited to do this with you. I knew it was going to be a, hopefully a cathartic thing too, right? Like, you know, cause I knew this was, generally speaking, a heavy record for you. And I knew that, you know, there was some beautiful moments in it, but also I knew that there was some dark stuff in it too. So I'm glad we were able to do this, and hopefully everyone enjoyed, you know, you breaking it down. No, I did. You know, I love hearing, you know, stories behind lyrics and things of that nature, just because I love it so much. But I mean, it was absolutely my pleasure, man. And before we go, I do want to talk about, though, you just mentioned it there, but talk about kind of the next phase happening here at the Matt Layn camp. So walk me through that a little bit. What do you got coming up next?
So yesterday I sent you the next live special I'm putting out in line with my next EP, which is I Bought Tickets to That Downfall, which is a homage to Machine Gun Kelly's recent pop punk endeavor in kind of my own interpretation and style. So basically I'm doubling down on the sad boy vibes. and going for this, and I think this is a first It's the first 4 EPs. I'm putting out 5 EPs this year, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around. but I am going to do it. And every month starting September 17th onwards, there's going to be a new EP with a new live special every month. It's going to be absolutely crazy. The first one's Machine Gun Kelly on September 17th, and then after that I got 3 more. And I told you before we started who the last one is.
Oh man, I'm excited to hear that.
I think that's the one. That's the one that's going to, like, if people know me, they won't be surprised because I am a massive fan of the artist. But I think people are just going to be confused what I'm going to do with it. But for that artist, I'm doing an homage to one of my favorite albums by that artist, and it's not the one that everyone thinks it's going to be. And I'm excited for people to hear my spin on it and to see the live special. But yeah, October's one's going to be really amazing, and I think November's the one in November I think is going to hit the hardest in terms of emotional impact, because I was originally only going to do 3, but then I remembered one artist that I completely forgot to add to the list, and the second I recalled the artist, I'm like, yep, okay, we're doing it. So I had to add a 4th EP in there. And then after that, like, that takes us into the beginning of 2022. I'll be recording my debut LP at that point. And then I'll be working with some very, very cool people, and I'll reveal more of that when we get to it. And then put out a couple singles, put out the record, and put out some more videos, go on tour, touring the world, hopefully. Going to go international in 2022, fingers crossed if everything goes according to plan. And I also just wanted to give a major shout out to my boy Hayden from Roaming Buffalo Studios, my partner in crime on this, as well as Alexandra, who's involved in this as well. That both of them have been massive supporters of this project, and they're the ones behind the live specials, the visual aspect of it, the filming of it. This next special has drone footage in it, which I remember when we filmed the first special, he brought the 3 huge Mackie lights, and I'm like, dude, why do we need all these? It's just an acoustic special. Trust me, we need these. And I said, okay. And I was happy I trusted him, because the first special for Songs I Play in the Dark came out way better than I ever could have expected. And you saw the new special already, and
it looks amazing, utterly amazing.
I was blown away by how that turned out, and the songs I played, I felt fit the vibe very well. And just these next specials are going to be absolutely wild. So shout out to Hayden and Alexandra from Roaming Buffalo Studios. Thank you guys for helping me create these things and understanding what this journey is and where it can go.
Definitely so, man. Well, I'm excited, guys. As you're hearing this, it is September 9th. So next week is, again, it was September 17th is when that new live special and EP comes out. I bought tickets to this Downfall. Check it out. It's awesome. I got a special sneak peek because I'm kind of a big deal, but but no,
you gotta
it is
hook
awesome.
Up the Joe Rogan of Ontario with the goods, and I always will.
Oh, I always appreciate it, brother. And it's going to be awesome, guys. So check it out. I'll have links down below for all of Matt's socials and that. So be sure to go check him out. And it's going to be on Bandcamp and YouTube, correct? That's the plan going forward, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
I will say this now, and I hope it won't be the last time I have to say it, but I know I want to say it now. There is nothing going on any major streaming platforms until 2022. Everything is exclusive to Bandcamp, and Bandcamp only for the records, and the live specials will be on my YouTube channel. That is it. No major releases until next year.
Very good. And again, guys, I'll have links down below. Check Matt out. He deserves your support. Matt, thank you so much, brother, for coming on and doing this. It was just a lot of fun and really some really beautiful moments, I think, that we had on this episode today, and some laughs. It's always good talking with you, brother.
Thank you for having me on. And I now would like to apologize to your audience for bumming them out. And I hope that they can walk away from this podcast, hopefully if honestly, if I can just say one last thing, and I hope people really take this into heart. Now more than ever, we need to be reflective on ourselves, what we want to do with our lives, and the goals we've set, and make sure to put yourself first.
All right, guys, there you have it. My music showcase featuring Matt Layn, talking all about his EP that just came out about a month and a half ago, Songs I Play in the Dark. And things got real deep there, and that was really cool. I'm really thankful to you, Matt, for, you know, going as into detail about things that you did, not pulling any punches, man. I think that makes for great content, and for your listeners who really love these songs, I think that it definitely would mean a lot to them that you did that. So thank you very much for being so candid and for coming on the show and allowing me the opportunity to dive into these songs with you. It was an absolute pleasure as always. And thank you so very much for listening, for tuning in. It means the world to me. You know, we're trucking along here on the Honda Show, and I got something really cool that I'm going to be letting you guys know of over the next week or so. And I got a really fun episode next week in which I'm sitting down with James Wilson, who is a punk rocker from Oshawa, Ontario, talking all about his new record that is coming out in just the September 18th. September 18th is when that record comes out of his, and it's going to be a blasty blast. So stay tuned for that. I also have a few other interviews lined up that I'm really, really excited about. A lot of cool things happening here at the Hotter Show camp, so stay tuned. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave a like, leave a review if you can. That helps me a lot. Thank you guys so very much. Give you the old patented audio fist bump. Boom. And I will catch you guys next time on the Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.